Snakels.
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 Welcome back to Family Tanks. I'm Zosia.
I'm Scott.
And today we'll be talking about the detail into our snake tank.
We are totally doing a detail on the snake tank. So Zosia, can you tell everybody why we want to make this video?
Well, we've got it requested on the frog tank, and well, why don't we just do the snake tank too?
That's exactly right. And we've also been getting a lot of comments, which by the way, we love. But for some reason, the world assumes that we don't use a thermostat on the snake. I don't know why.
One right here.
Although I will say this, we are absolutely touched that there's so many people out there that are so passionate to make sure that snakes are being cared for properly.
And of course, we are using a thermostat.
We
so don't
totally
worry.
are, and we'll show you that. We'll show you the whole build and exactly how it works and everything that goes into it. And hopefully that will put people's worries to rest and inspire a couple of people and maybe even inform you.
Yeah!
Without further ado, let's get into Snaky Boo Boo's Enclosure.
So here's his full overview of the tank, and look, Lucius is already posing for us.
Yep, that's right. So this is Lucius, the ball python's enclosure. A little bit of a reflection there because it's so shiny. But this is, now Lucius is just under a year old at this point.
Yeah.
He's just a little guy, right?
He's a little boy.
So he's only about 20 inches long. So right now this is built out of a standard 20 long aquarium, which is 30 inches long by 12 inches wide by about 12 inches high, I think, give or take.
20 tall is our dart frog tank.
Exactly. So it's a good size. Now the rule of thumb that people say for most snakes is that the snake should not be longer than the long side and short side of the tank added together. Now I think that's probably a little small. Don't you, Zosia?
Actually, I think it's a little big, actually.
Well, yeah, I mean in his case, but
stretched out, it's like this.
you know, he's a male, so he's gonna be about 4 feet, give or take, when he is full grown, which technically, by that bar of measure, would still be inside of this 20 long, which I think is probably a little small. He'll probably end up in a 40 or maybe even a 75, depending on how big he gets. But this is great for now, and we had it, and it's working out awesome. So Zosia, why don't you tell us what we use for substrate in here?
So we use coconut fiber. It's a great substrate for ball pythons and where they're from.
Yep, exactly. This is the cocoa husk specifically, which are the larger chunks. It does a good job in holding humidity, and it is rot and mildew resistant, and that helps keep his humidity a little bit higher. Now, right now, we had just cleaned this, so you'll notice here on the hygrometer, it says 93% humidity. That is actually only because we just sprayed it and it's extra humid. But once that soaks in, there he is stretched out, super Lucius. Now, once that water soaks in, we're usually sitting at about 60 to 75% humidity, right?
Yes.
Which is pretty darn good, and he has good clean sheds from that. Now, Zosia, why don't you tell us the other elements that we have in here?
So
what do we have over on this side?
Cork bark, which it's great wood. See, it's not really like really wood, it's more cork. And it looks like wood, it looks natural, and it's great hides for him. So he has his cold hide, and we have some plastic plants that stick out. You can get these plants cheap at any like craft store.
Yep, exactly. We use the plastic plants because this is not a full bioactive vivarium. They're very durable and they can be cleaned and sterilized, right?
Yeah.
And the cork is also nice because the cork, like the coconut, is naturally rot resistant. So it doesn't get funky in there. Now, what's this little coconut thing here?
So this is a plastic coconut hide, and we got it when he was so little, and now he still loves it. He's very emotionally attached.
He totally is. It's the weirdest thing. So we got that little coconut hide. So when we first got him, he was teeny tiny, and we knew that the 20 would be too long or too big, because you don't want to put a ball python in an enclosure that's too large, because some folks say that can stress them out, right?
Yes.
So we put him in something that was more his size. So we started off in a 10 when he was a little teeny tiny little thing. And we got that coconut hide for one of his cool hides, and he loves his coconut.
He just wraps up whenever.
So we just keep the coconut in there. He still crams himself in there, believe it or not, sometimes, which is
and
the cutest thing.
When we lift it up to see him and pick him up, he's dug inside.
He's like inside the coconut because he's in there so tight, but he still loves his coconut. Now, why don't you tell people, Zosia, about the water dish?
So this is a regular water dish we ordered off a online pet store, and well, I guess you guys know it holds our water for Lucius.
It holds water for Lucius, but the important thing is that it's made of a resin, so it's very easy to clean and sterilize. We freshen up the water daily, and it is also large enough to where should he want to get in there and soak, which sometimes ball pythons will do, he's able to do that, right?
Yep.
Now what's going on over here on the left-hand
This is
side?
his worm hide. So it's important to have two hides on both sides so he feels safe, but if he actually is too cold or too hot, he can choose different sides.
That's right. Now Zosia, do you remember what the fancy word for that is? When a reptile chooses between hot and cold? They call it, it's a fancy word. Do you remember what it is?
No.
It's called thermoregulate.
Thermoregulate.
Yep, reptiles, they can move around and they can thermoregulate. So if they need more heat, because of course they're cold-blooded, for their body's metabolism and systems, they will move to a warmer area, and if they feel like they're getting too warm, they can move to a cooler area.
And it has a heat map right underneath, so
exactly.
it's nice and toasty.
So we are actually using two forms of heat. There is a heat mat that sits underneath the tank, stuck to the glass underneath. Can't show you because it's underneath, but it sits right under that warm hide and radiates heat up in combination with this center lamp, which is a ceramic heat emitter. The heat emitter doesn't put out any light, just heat. Now, if you look closely, we have it suspended above the top, so it's not touching the top, and that way nothing gets too hot. And then both of those are connected to a thermostat down here below.
Yes, we have lots of thermostats. We have one in the tank, then we also have like a little hand thermostat, and then we have another one in the tank, and that big one.
Yep, we use the,
Don't worry, guys.
You're talking about, we use that laser thermometer to check the temperatures in there, and then the thermostat here actually controls the heat mat and the heat lamp together. Now you'll notice right now it says 75 degrees. The reason for that is, again, we just cleaned this and it's coming back to temperature. So everything was cooled down and then it's slowly warming up. See, there we go, 75.2, and it'll keep coming up. And we have that set, so right at the probe, which sits right at the opening of his warm hide, should be at 90 degrees. So he has a nice warm, humid area in there to be about 90 degrees. When you hit the top of the cork bark with the temperature gun, that sits at about 85, and then it cools off as you move over
to the cold side.
And he actually loves to hang out over here sometimes, where it sits about 75 or so in the enclosure. Now, one other thing that we did to help make sure that we can keep some heat and humidity inside the enclosure, because it's well known that glass aquariums are not the best thing in the world in terms of holding in humidity and heat. So what we did is we actually put some of this faceted plastic on top of the screen top on the left and right, because those are just LED bulbs, they don't get hot, and then left the section in the middle open for the heat lamp. And again, the heat lamp doesn't touch anything, so there's no worry about burning of the plastic, but that helps us hold in some extra heat and extra humidity, and it actually regulates really, really beautifully, doesn't it?
Yes.
Now, to hold the lamps, anytime you use a heat lamp, one very, very, very important thing is they get hot. They get really, really hot. And if you have cats or little brothers and sisters or kids, or if you're just clumsy yourself, or whatever the case may be, if there's any chance that heat lamp could get knocked off, you need to make sure it's secured in a way that will not wind up on your floor and cause a fire.
Yeah, and we also have these like flags in the back, which can be lit on fire. So we want to make sure
Totally.
safe.
Any house, the carpet would go up in a second under that heat lamp, right? So what we did is we actually took some simple PVC, and we actually have this in our snake habitat build video, and made this rack that the lights hang from, and no matter what you do, they're never ever going to fall or fall off. Cans can't knock them off. That whole rack can't be knocked off because it goes all the way around the 20.
You can't turn it off, and you only can move the sides with no way it's gonna get like off. It's like a whole loop.
That's exactly right. It is almost impossible, not impossible, but it is almost impossible to knock those lamps off to where they shouldn't be. So it is super, super safe. And again, his enclosure keeps a wonderful, wonderful temperature and good humidity. And I think the look of our little snaky here says it for itself. That is one happy little guy. So Zosia, do you have anything else to add to our snake enclosure breakdown?
Not really know of, except for the background. We just use a background you can order off online and just stick it on.
Yeah, exactly. That was just one of those cling backgrounds, and it actually looks really cool. And if I didn't know better, I would say that looks like a little slice of Central Africa, right? Where this little guy comes from. Well, this guy came from Baltimore, from a breeder, but his brethren comes from Africa, right?
His
snake peeps.
origin.
Yes. His people, or his snakels. Anyway, hopefully that helps clarify and inform people a little bit. We would love to get comments and questions about how to care for these guys. They make great pets.
And if you have any questions, please comment. We'll answer all of them.
We love answering comments. And like we said before, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more updates on our aquarium builds. We're going to do a new giant vivarium and all sorts of good stuff. So we'll catch you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.